Alright, anatomy. Oh, I'm real sorry I can't be there today. I have a sick kiddo at home and I need to be here with her. So I'm going to run through what you need to get done today. You should have a black and white version of the skull that's sitting in front of you. Let's go through some of the main things. You color it up, and then tomorrow, hopefully I'll be back in class and we can go through it with 3D model and do a side view and an underside view of the skull. So first things first, let's hit three main words that show up across the skull. One is one from the last unit, which is a foramen. Right, so a foramen is just a hole that allows blood vessels, nerves, things of that nature to go into the skull or out of the skull. Because remember, it is a fairly rigid structure, so we have to get a blood supply into that. So that's one thing. Another one is a fissure. A fissure is a gap in a bone, not a hole, but a gap in the bone. So you're going to see an example of one over here. And you can see these dark lines, those are fissures. And then the last one is a suture. And a suture is a joint that isn't mobile. So you can see the squiggly lines. Those are all sutures. You're going to have to know some major sutures. We'll see those tomorrow on the side of the skull, and then we'll do a top side. But these are joints of the skull, right? So these are non-movable joints. Those are what sutures are. All right, so let's go through all the pieces that you're going to have to know on the skull. You label them, and then please pick a color for each one of these that needs to be colored. It's redundant, sorry. So pick a color for each one of the bones, and then be very specific, because when we do a side view tomorrow, we're going to use those same colors to make sure that they align, so you can kind of get a 3D three-dimensional look at this using only two-dimensional objects. All right. So first thing, this big yellow bone here, you can see it kind of comes down here, comes across the eye socket, and then you can kind of see in the back of the eye socket, that's all the same bone, yellow here, come up around the nose, and then along the back side of the eyeball, right, in the eye socket there, up along, and that is all the frontal bone. So pick a color and label this part the frontal bone. Now, some of these lines on here we're not going to have to know. So this is a line that is part of that frontal bone that we're not really worried about. We also don't need to know this specific suture, so I'm not going to have you put those on. This little hole right here, see there's a little hole right here. There's a little hole right here. Those are supra, meaning above, orbital, meaning eye, foramen. Right, you don't have to color anything, you just need a label that that's a supraorbital foramen. The next one is just showing you the top of the eye socket, which has a specific name. We're not worried about it at this point. And then these are some examples of fissures, right? So I just want you to write down that that's an example of a fissure. We're not going to name the fissures. There's two parts of the fissure. There's one that goes up and there's one that goes down, so superior and inferior. It's in the orbital socket, so it gets all its name like that. And then this hole, I don't know if you can see it back here. There's one right here. Those you do have to know, because that's going to be the optical canal. So it is a specific foramen, but the optical canal is where your eyeball and the nerve from the back of the retina actually dives back through the skull, the bones in the back of your eye socket, and then actually feed to your brain. So you do have to know the optical canal. This is another one of those fissures. And then we get down here to this orange M-shaped bone. You can see it there. And then there's two little wedges over here. See that? And see that? Inside the eye socket. So all that's orange. That is the ethmoid bone. So see how there's two lines comes over here and it says, hey, join it together. We're just going to label both of those lines. That's the ethmoid bone, M. And look how it makes it an M shape there, right? So that's the ethmoid bone. Orange, orange, ethmoid bone. Okay, when we get to the bottom down here, it's like this light bluish color, right? So this piece right here, you're gonna color. That is the vomer bone. We're not worried about this one. That's part of your nasal concha. Not going to worry about that. So that's the vomer bone. So you got the vomer coming up and the ethmoid coming down. Remember that you got those two little windows of the ethmoid down here. All right, now this one we don't have to label because that's the rounded part of your chin. We'll name the bone when we come over to the side over here. You see that there's two holes down here. Right, those are foramen. Those are the mental foramen. M-E-N-T-A-L. Mental foramen. Those are holes. You don't have to color them. You just have to label that those are the mental foramen. And then we're going to label here, this part of your jaw, right, this lower part, the one that moves, is the mandible. Okay, so make sure you color the mandible, all of that orangish, I don't know, rusty kind of orange color. Okay, and then you come up here, this purple bone, which is purple bone, kind of reaches up alongside the nose. See how it kind of comes inside this eye socket here, along the kind of the cheek, down to the teeth, back around, purple in here, right? All of that, that's the upper part of your jaw. That's the maxilla. Okay? And then there's these two holes in the lower part of the eye socket. So since the upper ones were called the supraorbital foramen, these are below, so we're going to call those the infra, I-N-F-R-A, orbital foramen. Okay. This bluish colored bone, see how it kind of comes up here along the side of the eye, comes inside the eye socket and down along. See that? You got it on both sides. That's actually two. They both get the same name. That is the zygomatic. Okay, so that gets its own color as well. And then you come inside here, these little green wedges, light green. You see that? Light green wedge. That is the lacrimal. That's an L here. Lacrimal. Okay, so lacrimal bone, and that's actually where your tear ducts kind of lie inside, and it helps you drain into your nose. We'll talk more about that later. It's the lacrimal. And then you get into this orange piece here. That's, once again, ethmoid bone. So that's, you're just relabeling that. That's ethmoid. Okay. And then you get to this orange over here. Now, orange over here, you probably already know that one because I'm sure you've put your fingers on the sides of your head before, rub this area maybe when you have a headache. Call that the temporal bone. Okay, so temporal, this orangish piece here, this orangish piece here. All right, and then we get into, it's just kind of hard to see, so I'm going to use the pen here and actually do this. There's a little wedge here, and then all of this inside the eye, right? All of that, that is a bone that's on both sides. You kind of see it over here. Wedge here, and then this little teeny wedge here. All that is called the sphenoid. All right. And then last but not least, we have the, two more. So you have this dark purple, which you probably will know that's the nasal. All right. And then this is the frontal again. I already labeled it one time. And then our last bone for today is up here, and that is the parietal. Okay, so I'm going to put a little red dot next to all the ones that you get coloring on the skull. And then all the other ones are just labels. Like you have to know that these holes are in those parts of the bone. So all these ones with these little red dots, you need to make sure that you have a different color for each one of those. Okay, we didn't do frontal again because we already, well, I'll just put a dot because we already did it over here, and we did the same situation with the ethmoid over here. So ethmoid's on here twice, and so is the frontal bone on here twice. You don't have to do two different colors, just make sure you have it labeled. Okay? All right. So that was 10 minutes. It's not super long. Hopefully you can pause, rewind, color. This is all I want you to do for today, right? Just so we don't lose any ground. And then tomorrow we'll do side view. We'll also start up the case study for this, pending that I have enough time in the morning, which I should, to get all the boxes set up for the grave sites that you're going to be visiting. All right. Have a good one. If you need anything, please email me. I should be around the computer most of the day. I wish you luck.